Welcome back to Inside the Lines. Happy Friday. We have a prop party today. Best day of the week. A lot to go over. A ton of different sports to cover. We're going to start with John in the NHL. We got some NFL picks. We have some NBA, some college stuff, we just have everything, okay? And we have your guys' questions, so keep them coming in the chat. That is the most important part. For those who sweat out A.T. Perry with us last night, emotional roller coaster, but glad that cashed, okay? He loves Santa. Happy holidays to him. All right. We're going to bring in John. We're going to talk some NHL. One great pick for today. I'm going to let you take it over here. I didn't even know the Jets were a hockey team, so I have nothing to say.
Yeah, Mackenzie, I had to join the prop party today. So we're going with Gabriel Velarde on the Winnipeg Jets, over 2.5 shots on goal at plus 100 on FanDuel. Those are the best odds that you're going to find. This is much higher in other books. As my dogs are playing in the background. Minus 110, minus 115 on other books. This is definitely an act now. He's hit this number in 5 straight games and 7 of his last 10 games overall. And those 10 games were all since he came back from an injury. The Bruins give up the 7th most shots on goal against per game in the league. And they've allowed 35 shots against per game on the road this season. So they're giving up plenty of shots. I think Velarde's going to cash this easily. I like the Jets.
All right. I'm sure they're playing a lot better than the other Jets, and that's really about my only knowledge of the NHL right now. But I will get better. You're going to teach me about the NHL. That's part of my New Year's resolution. Before, I see Jake talking about in the chat, and I figured I'd just have you guys comment on it quick with the Dodgers second edition coming in today. Jake, I'll bring you in if you guys just want to chat about that real quick with the crew.
Yeah, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, largest pitching contract in MLB history, and he has yet to throw a pitch in any sort of organization in Major League. So if that tells you what kind of talent he is, then I don't know what does.
So he's won the last 3 Sawamura Awards, which is the equivalent of the Japanese Cy Young, which I don't think anyone in the last 50 years has won 3 in a row. His stats are very similar. I was going back through all the stats. They're very similar to Yu Darvish's coming out. But he's 5'10", throws 95 to 99. So I think we're going to put, just for all intensive purposes, we're going to put Kodai Senga's stats from him last year for Yamamoto this year. But he's 6 years younger than him. But I guess we're expecting like a low 3 ERA. That's like very reasonable to start off, given this insane contract. I guess that's what the Dodgers are expecting to start. But I think with this contract, they'd be disappointed if they don't win 2 World Series in the next 10 years. It's a disappointment.
Yeah. A lot on their plate and a lot of pressure on them now. Exactly. All right. So we'll certainly have more stats and information on that as we get closer to MLB season and stuff, but just wanted to address that in general. I'm going to send John to the chat to talk more baseball if he wants, but answer some NHL questions if he wants to. Bring in Steven. We're going to hit the NFL. And Steven, when I was putting your notes together today, I couldn't help but realize that it was all rushing yards for quarterbacks. So we present the segment, All Quarterbacks Run. All right, let's start with, see, I also made that before I realized you took an under, which is kind of lame, but I'm assuming you have good reasoning for Easton Stick.
Yeah, I do. So Easton Stick was the story that I said during our show. His line steamed from around 8.5 to like 20 in the hour. And because Stick was, a running quarterback at, in college, but that's 5 years ago when I saw him. So he's played 2 games essentially, and he's had 2 rushes for 11 yards with 2 lost fumbles. Not everybody who's a running quarterback in college translates, especially 5 years later, to pros. I mean, I remember Andy Dalton because I was a big Andy Dalton fan at TCU, a team that had like 4 or 5 hybrid running back wide receivers and Dalton. They'd all get around 7 to 9 carries. They all average around 6 yards per carry. And when he went to Cincinnati, I was like, Dalton's a really mobile quarterback. And then, he wasn't immobile, but plenty of guys make that transition and they aren't that. So I don't see any reason why Stick is is considered a mobile quarterback when if he didn't run last week with Max Crosby chasing him, when's he going to do it? And they also see a good disparity. I've seen 17.5 now as a high, and then 14.5. So I think the books are also struggling with this. The model's projecting 10 yards for him.
How long has he been in the league?
5 years,
6 years. Like,
I was gonna say, I was like, maybe it's a Trevor Lawrence situation where he needed the first year or two to like get comfortable, and then he starts running. But I'm
and he's not a big guy.
Trevor's running because he got knocked out in Syracuse. That's kind of like not because he wasn't a good runner, just because he was scared.
And who knows what they're doing with the Chargers with new regime? They signed Will Greer, who I thought was a pretty good college player, and maybe they'll want to throw him in there and see how he does. I don't know.
All right, let's move to another quarterback that we do think will be a little more mobile. Going to Jordan Love. We're not asking a lot here. We're asking for 9 rushing yards. You think he can do that for us?
Yeah, Jordan Love, when things were going well a few weeks ago, they beat Detroit, they beat Kansas City, he had 39 yards and 10 yards, so overs. Last 2 weeks where his passing numbers were okay, but he's barely run the ball, only 3 rushing yards on 4 carries combined in the last 2 games. So my theory is when quarterbacks, especially ones who can run, need to show and inspire a team and kind of show how tough they are and why you should trust in them as a leader, like to kind of early set the tone with a scramble. So that's my theory on Love. It worked a couple times early this year. It's worked with Sam Howell, who's coming up. It worked with Derek Carr.
Wilson,
it's worked with Russell Wilson. That's kind of one thing you can do to show some quote unquote leadership when things are going poorly.
Exactly. So let's move over to Mr. Sam Howell here. His line's a little higher, 14.5, but still definitely an obtainable number for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone over 5 of the last 6 games. So last week couldn't have been worse. He looked terrible. The team looked terrible. Then Jacoby Brissett came in. They scored a couple touchdowns right away. So, I mean, Howell really is playing for his future as a starting quarterback in the NFL. And that would be in a great position to get one of the great rookie quarterbacks that are supposed to come out. Be pretty funny if he gets, not funny for Howell, but if he gets replaced by, the next UNC quarterback. But I think the model is right that he'll have 21 rushing yards. I think he'll do it early. He's got to escape the Jets pass rush so he'll have plenty of reason and motivation to show again, not only that he's tough, but that he's mobile. That's one storyline. Everyone's paying attention to the MVP matchup of Lamar versus in San Francisco. And a lot of people on the Brock Purdy side are saying, well, Purdy's got some metrics that indicate he's as quick as Lamar in certain situations. So, it's become all the rage.
Right. I see a question in the chat about quarterback rushing yards for tonight's game. If we just want to look for the college game, Georgia Tech, UCF.
Yeah, 2 running quarterbacks in this game.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what we're working with here. What's this bowl called?
What bowl is this?
I think it's like Who Gives a Bleep Bowl.
Yeah.
Classic.
It's actually to be a really entertaining bowl game, but for
relative,
I guess compared to
what are the lines? What are the lines for Haynes King?
Haynes King, I think, was 47.5, so we do have some value on his rush yards. I played
Plumlee. Yeah, we have them projected for virtually exact same rushing totals.
And so we have value on King. Plumlee's line's 57.5, 59.5, depending on where you look. So there's no value on Plumlee, but I don't mind it at all. He had the so it's Gasparilla in Tampa. But
how could I forget?
We have more value on King, and I played King over pass and rush yards at 240 something earlier, but I don't mind Plumlee play at all.
You can get King is a 49.5 at Unibet and 51.5 at FanDuel. Interesting. It's a pretty big disparity between the 56.5 on Prize Pick.
It hopped up a lot because I got it. I got it earlier today at 47.
Plumlee, we actually like the under. Is he a big sack risk?
Georgia Tech, they had
not really.
They had 2 starters on defense transfer, and one of them was a defensive end. So I think he's not really a ton of risk to get sacked. And we have him projected for just 8 carries. So if you look at his yards per attempt, I think that's more indicative. I'd say he probably gets 13, 14 carries. And so if you look at that, he'd probably go over. So I think I would look at his rush line, his rush attempt line, and it's probably 12.5. So if you look at that and then our 6.3 yards per carry, he should have it. So I don't mind. I played on Prize Picks a bunch of over props in this game, just hoping it's a shootout.
Yeah.
Way to talk it out, boys. Come out on top with the good play that we like. That's what we love to
And
do.
play both sides so it can be right either way.
Yes. I see a lot of questions while we're in the model about the Bengals with Jamar Chase out, maybe some value on some of these other players to catch a little more targets. Looking at Chase Brown, I know you mentioned it, Jake, but Chase Brown over 2.5 catches, or his receiving yards is 17.5.
They're throwing him a lot of screens, so
yeah.
We have value on his yards.
We're only projecting 2 receptions, so he's only had 3 targets. He's done great. He's caught all the targets because they're usually short passes, 3 targets each week. The last 2 weeks for 3 receptions. So because the model is not going to project 100% reception rate, we're only getting with 2 receptions. So we actually like his over in yardage because he's gets a lot of yards per reception as a running back, but not at 2.5.
And then
over.
Jeff asking about Tanner Hudson. I don't know what the lines are, but we have him for 30.5.
We like the over on him. Yeah, he's been. He seems to have
really like throwing it.
All right.
Especially since Browning took over, he's been getting a lot of action.
Right. All right. Let's move over to 3 NFL props that Jake has here. We'll start with Raheem Mostert. Anytime touchdown.
Yeah, Mostert's just a touchdown machine. We have him scoring.
Is that supposed to be minus 115, or did I screw that up?
No, that's minus 115. I was surprised with that too.
Yeah.
So we have him scoring touchdown at 80% of sims. Minus 115 is like what, around 55% implied. So we have like 20% implied. And when you compare the implied percentage with like 20% value. So I like this. I think this could be a high scoring game as well. The weather should be looking nice, and unlike Dallas's game last week, but A-Chain is banged up, or A-Chan, if I had a name correction earlier in the season. But A-Chan's banged up. Tyreek should play, but Tyreek playing should only help this hit, in my opinion.
Yeah, Dallas's run defense was terrible last week, right? They gave up 260 yards, and Hankins, their other defensive tackles, probably out again. So,
okay, let's move to Tampa Bay hosting Jacksonville, 2.5-point home favorites. We're going to Cade Otton over 22.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, the Jaguars suck against tight ends. We saw Isaiah Likely dominate the Jaguars last week, and but the Jaguars give up 60.6 yards per game to tight ends. We have unprojected for 34. Besides 1 week where he had 0 targets and 0 receptions, I think he's gone over in 3 of the last 5 weeks. So I like this play.
Okay.
Surprised the line's that low.
Act now.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right, one more play here. We'll go to Jahmyr Gibbs, who had a great weekend last weekend. Now they go to Minnesota, I believe. Yes, going to Minnesota as 3-point favorites.
Yeah, we have good value on over 9.5 rush attempts. I was surprised it's set at 9.5. He either has 8 attempts or 11 attempts. So we're hoping he gets 11. I mean, he had 11 last week. I think they should get a lead and run the ball a lot against Minnesota in this game. I don't know. What do you think about this, Steven?
It's funny. It's 11, 11, 8, 11, 8. Yeah, that's
it's 11, 8, 11, 8. But then he's the over 7-3 in the last 10. But that counts. Those are in some of those games. Montgomery was injured, like the game where he had 20-something carries. Montgomery was injured, but I mean, he's just so explosive. They need to get the ball in his hands more. But I understand them trying to keep him healthy.
Minnesota's been really defending the run really well at home. 70 rush yards allowed at 3.1 yards per carry. So you would think they'd want some more juice and explosion in Gibbs in that situation, with the goal line going to Montgomery.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's all we have for football right now, but feel free to ask your questions in the chat. We will get to them. Let's head over. We have our NBA picks for tonight, but let's head over to some college situations first. We'll go to 2 bowl game picks that Jake has, starting with Eastern Michigan.
Yeah. So Samson Evans, anytime touchdown for Eastern Michigan. We have him at scoring a touchdown 55% of sims, or 58% of sims, just about. I mean, he's been a touchdown machine when he gets all the goal line carries. He has 4 in the last 2 weeks, and then he has a touchdown in 7 of the last 8 games.
Whenever he gets some significant usage, he gets
exactly, and he's been getting significant usage the last couple of weeks. He was banged up against Toledo, but he did have a passing touchdown in that game against Toledo. So he has accounted for a touchdown in the last 8 games. And the big thing here is that he's going up against a really good rush defense. I think they allow South Alabama allows just 3.5 yards per carry, but it's been more vulnerable lately than earlier in the season. Louisiana had a rush touchdown against them. They had a rush touchdown allowed, I think, in 3 of their last 5 games.
Mm-hmm. Let's move over to Northwestern's quarterback, Ben Bryant, playing Utah. They're hosting Utah as 6-point dogs.
Yeah, I was originally on Ben Bryant over interception, and then I thought myself into this play, which I like more. Bryant has hit this number in 5 of the last 6 games. He's attempting a lot of passes. They're underdogs. They're 6-point underdogs here. So we're expecting them to be down. And we have good value on Utah because Bryson Barnes is playing for Utah and then transferring after the game. So we have good value on Utah in this game. But I don't love that just with all the transfer portal madness. But I think Ben Bryant should. He's a 6-year senior. I think he's going to throw the ball a ton in his last career game. Utah's really good against the run, but they're not. They have a little vulnerabilities in the secondary. I think Sione Baki, their studs safety, who also plays running back. I'm not sure if he's playing in this game. I think he opted out because he's entering the draft, so that should help Northwestern throw the ball a little more.
Yeah. We like playing from behind. That's how we cashed A.T. Perry last night, which we do love. Someone mentioned in the chat, it was definitely a sweat. That is for sure. But you know what? Yeah. We love to see it. It's all worth it.
That was a cardio workout waiting for that.
That was a cardio workout.
The last college prop is Chevin Cordero for San Jose State over 1.5 pass touchdowns. He's playing back home in Hawaii. He's also another one of these, I think, 5th or 6th year senior. He transferred from Hawaii. And he's playing forever, but he's going up against the Coastal defense that gave up 5 pass touchdowns in their last game. We have him projected for 2 touchdowns. He's hit this in another one player. He's hit in 5 of the last 6. I think that's a big thing, big theme today for my picks. 5 of the last 6. It seems like all my picks have hit in. So even if I just hit 2 of the 3 that I've hit 5 of the last 6, that's still good.
It's impressive.
Some good winnings. And we're still, even though that running back for Syracuse was LaQuint Allen, I mean, he's a stud. Their offensive line was rough, and I'm still 3-1 on college.
I was going to say, so don't beat yourself up too much. You've been
that was dead from the beginning. As soon as they started Dan Villari instead of the transfer from South Carolina, I'm like, this play is dead because Villari can't really throw. That's why he's moved to tight end. So they started at tight end. He pretty much played wildcat quarterback, and the defense knew what was happening. Even South Florida's defense that hasn't been that good this year.
Right. All right. I see some NBA questions starting to pile in, so let's address those. And then we have 2 player props ourselves for tonight. We'll start with Caleb Martin. Nick asked back on Caleb Martin. How did he play last night? But 10.5 points at plus money you can get.
Yeah, he didn't do much the other game with when Jimmy Butler was out. He had 5 points in 18 minutes. So it's kind of hit or miss who's going. Hero started that game hot and got the run, it looks like.
Yeah, and Hawkes didn't even have a big game that hour I expected.
He played a lot of minutes, Hawkes. He played over 30 minutes, I think. Still.
Yeah.
So Martin, we like tonight to get, to get his. We have him for 13 points because, that last game had to be more of an aberration, you would think. He's had 2 nothing games in a row. Time for him to break. He's due.
Yeah, buy low. We love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I like Martin. It was interesting that Hawkes' line, I was looking at that. He's at 24.5, so we would have undervalued. It seemed like he performed better when he came off the bench against other teams' second units and just dominated. And his 2 games that he started, he's got a ton of minutes, but hasn't been as productive. But maybe against Atlanta, he's a little more productive. But I think I like the Caleb Martin at 10.5 better than Jaime Hawkes today.
Okay. Good to know. I see Dallas is headed to Houston. They're a little thin. Kyrie not playing. A few guys not playing. Do we have any value on Jaden Hardy?
Luka's not playing either.
Yeah, so we have nothing. I wouldn't, the line's team from 2.5 to 8.5, or even 9 earlier. So with Dallas resting everyone, I have no idea who's going to get the run.
Yeah, I wanted to play Şengün here because we have a lot of good value, but it scares me because we have Houston winning by a lot, and this game could be ugly.
I did bump up Hardy quite a bit. Maybe not even. This is probably still a conservative number at 11. So I don't know what his line is if it's posted. I didn't see anything posted a couple hours ago for Dallas. For Houston, we like Şengün over 34.5 points, rebounds, and assists. We see him dominating this situation.
You know who had a great game last night? Guess. Somebody guess. Who in the NBA had an awesome game?
Oh, Trey
Murphy, 28 points, 4 rebounds.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes, I just forget when New Orleans plays sometimes. And sometimes I forget because they don't put lines out until right before the game because Zion's such an emotional roller coaster. But whatever. I digress. All right, let's move over to we got 2 player props to get through before we get out of here. We'll start with Saddiq Bey for Atlanta, over 18.5 points and rebounds.
Yeah, so if you looked at the depth chart for Atlanta, Saddiq Bey is like the backup small forward, backup power forward, but he's been averaging well over 30 minutes a game for that last month, especially with Jalen Johnson out. Over 7 of his last 9 with 21 average, but the under has been 2 out of his last 3. So I like this as a little breakout break out of a slight funk.
That.
So we have him projected for 21.
There we go.
So I saw a question about Capella. We have him for 12 rebounds and assists, so some value there.
Yeah.
Let's move over to one more play. Sabonis over half a made 3-pointer. Now we have him projected for the same, but at plus 145. We'll call that value.
Yeah, Nurkic is out, so it's going to be a lot of perimeter players. I don't know anything about Chimezie Metu, the backup center, who might see more run, but I did see that half his last 30 field goal attempts have been 3-pointers, so he must be more of a stretch 5. So Sabonis, without having to worry about Nurkic, might be forced to be on the perimeter, might also be, drift outside and with no one in the paint to defend penetration from the guards and Fox. So kick it out to Sabonis. He's shooting a career high 39% from 3 this year. So I think he's good to get at least 2 3-point attempts and make 1.
This play sounds a little too similar to A.T. Perry last night. I don't know if I can sweat something like that out 2 nights.
No, he's gonna deliver in the first. He's gonna deliver in the first 5 minutes. It's only 1 stinking 3-pointer.
Yeah. I've been there. 1 reception. That's all we needed. All right. Yeah. One more question, then we'll head out of here. Jeff asking about Kevin Durant. His points and assists is set at 13. Looking at the under.
We have him at 13.4, so it's over 13. So,
yeah.
Consensus. Yeah.
Nothing great. All right. Oh, I have a recap screen for you guys. Look at me. Okay. Take your screenshots, do what you need to do, play it back. Woman of the people today on Fridays. And again, we got to make a recap screen for the team. Great week. We've gotten so many viewers this week. A lot of people active in the chat. We appreciate that a lot. Remember to hit the like button if you haven't done that already. Again, reach out to us with any of your questions. We will be doing a Christmas show. A lot of games to go over that we want to hit with you guys. So be ready to do that after you open your presents and whatnot. So with that, good luck with your bets tonight. Good luck this weekend, and we will see you guys Monday.